Like I look at an internship kind of like entering a library. Just books everywhere, everything to learn.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Career Brand Story, a podcast that provides expert career coaching every week. I'm Jeremy Tudor, and on today's show, we are talking about perspectives from a Gen Zer. One of the things that I love about our team is the diversity of generations that we have on it, from Boomer to Millennial to the Gen Zer. So why talk to a Gen Zer? Well, 1 in 10 eligible voters in 2020 is going to be a Gen Zer. This is a generation that was born after 1996. Most members aren't old enough to vote, but the oldest of them will be turning 23 this year. So roughly 24 million will have the opportunity to cast their vote. This also means this generation is the newest recent grads to make their way into a turbulent job economy. And here is an important note. And this new generation was in line to inherit actually a strong economy with a record low unemployment. But that's all changed overnight with COVID. Research for a Center survey reports that half of the oldest Gen Zers, that's 18 to 23-year-olds, have been hit with unemployment or cut in pay. That's significantly higher than millennials at 40%, Gen Xers at 36%, and baby boomers at 25%. So while vulnerable, I will also say they may demonstrate to be the most resilient generation growing up in a changed world post 9/11, and will enter the workforce as COVID shapes a new future. They are also one of the most ethnically diverse and educated generations. So if you're a millennial, get ready to start feeling old because Gen Z has arrived. I want to welcome back Jeb Graff, commercial photographer and creative consultant here for us at Career Brand Story. And I'm excited to welcome our Gen Zer and my oldest child, my firstborn, and my only son. So that just makes him my favorite son, right? Luke Tudor. He's been interning with us here at Career Brand Story, and I'm excited to have him here today. How are you guys doing today?
I'm excited, ready to get into it as a first podcast.
Yeah, and we've got a little different studio setup here today. We're progress, not perfection. We're working on some things. So we've got some new microphones, some new setup. And so it's actually kind of nice because I can actually look across the table at Luke versus the computer. And so that's kind of fun too. And Jeb's controlling all of this and all of us.
I am the puppet master.
The puppet master. How are you doing, Jeb? What's going on in your world?
I'm doing great. Let's see. What's going on in my world? What'd I do today? I sent some emails, which I call business jerk stuff. So I did some business jerk stuff, some admin, and then I went and ran some errands. Tomorrow is my birthday, and Tuesday...
Yay! Happy birthday!
Oh, thank you. Tuesday is my son's birthday. He'll be 5, so I had to go do some birthday errands revolving around his birthday. I can't say anything because he's like right on the other side of the door, and he's snooping to find out what he's going to get for his birthday. So I have to be.
So with his birthday being so close to yours, does yours just kind of get skipped over and it just all gets focused on him?
Yeah, but I'm okay with that because
you're a good dad.
As you said, Luke is your favorite son, and Harbor is my only and favorite son. So I'm pretty excited about his birthday. And, it's a lot more fun to celebrate 5 than it is 40.
True. I would definitely say that's true. Luke's birthday is May 21st. Mine's May 8th. So we don't really have too much difficulty there, but the mothers of the world do. So I have been known to not celebrate Mother's Day because my birthday falls on Mother's Day sometimes. So
I forgot about that.
Yeah. So I got some good stories around that.
Oh, Jeremy, the hater of Mother's Day. Well, we're going to lose all 4 of our followers now.
That's right. My own mother, because she's delete. I'm not listening to this one.
Hey.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, Luke, I know that you were nervous at first to be on the podcast. He's listened in on them, but it is different to be on it.
Right.
And but here's my biggest tip for you. Just remember to say things that make me look good. And
of course.
You're going to do great. No, we're just going to have a great conversation today. I'm really excited to hear your perspectives as you came on and were an intern for us. But before we dive into that, why don't you tell our listeners just a little bit about yourself?
Well, I think that's a question that a lot of teenagers deal with. And as I'm coming in, I'm actually coming to even think about that more by myself and self-reflect on it. And so right now I've found that I really like to write, and I like German and Germanic history, but I've also come to really have a passion for people and hearing them and listening to them because each person is complex. And that's something that sometimes takes people a long time to realize. And I was fortunate enough to realize early on with my studies in history, particularly in World War II, which is a very turbulent time.
And you also just a little hobby. He loves typewriters.
Well, I have quite the hobby of collecting typewriters, although it might be more of an addiction. Whenever I see one when I walk into a thrift store, I immediately have to go over and just check it out. Not to buy it, of course. So right now I own 4 typewriters, which apparently Dad did not know. Yes.
I really did not know you owned 4 typewriters.
Well, they just start adding up as, collectors say, not hoarders.
Right.
The clear distinction you have to make. So the oldest one I couldn't place was probably somewhere around 1935. And the newest one was 47. So not that long ago. Pretty recent, actually.
47, pretty recent.
Yeah. Works
sure.
well.
Yeah, no, you're right. That's pretty recent. That's when my parents were born.
Age?
What is age?
So why do you like the typewriters though?
Well, so I like writing. And one thing I found as a writer, like I'll go onto my laptop and I find it very difficult when I can edit and go back. Typewriter doesn't allow you to do that. You have to keep typing, you have to keep plowing forward, and it teaches you to discipline yourself when you're writing. And it's kind of nice when you get to hear the ding and you get to roll up the page. It just is a nice feeling.
Yeah. And why do you like writing so much?
Writing? Ooh, well, you can create your own worlds. I mean, what can't you do without writing? It's amazing. I call it a mental discipline because you really have to think about your characters, your plot, and how that all intertwines. It's really all connected by logic. And so it's kind of a logical puzzle. And it's also a neat way to reach out to people and understand other perspectives and where they're coming from and explore them in ways through story.
That's really cool.
Thank you.
Well, so why did you agree to do an internship with us? Because I'm sure there's people out here, they know that you're my son. They may think that I just said, Luke, you're doing an internship. But It actually was asked of you if this is something you want to do. So why did you agree to do an internship with us?
Well, there is something. So you and Mom have always told me, Luke, you need to slow down. You're trying to become an adult way too fast. And I've had to, kind of realize that's not true. But at the same time, I've really wanted a job. I've wanted to be able to wear a suit to get ready, set up, go into the office building, say, hi, Darlene, you got my coffee, give them the coffee, and just relive the elf scene when he comes in, except in a suit. And that's always been great. So that's why one reason I accepted. Another reason is just the real concern that we have. Like even when you're reading those statistics, I didn't fully understand that. I knew that the job market was pretty tough right now, but that kind of expounded it to me. So one reason I took this internship is just because it was a great opportunity to enter the job field.
Yeah. So I think one of our concerns as parents was you turned 16 right when COVID happened. And as parents, we were concerned about you working a job, for safety reasons, but even the challenges as we've been trying to find that work. And so we thought the internship might be like a really good, bridge to that. What do you feel has been the value for you to do this internship with us?
Well, there's been a lot of value. One value is I've always loved the scene in The Office when Pam goes in to go get a new an office job and her resume fits on a Post-it card note. And I kind of watched that and I was thinking, I kind of want to be able to have like a page at least, or at least maybe 2 paragraphs.
Yeah.
So that's one value, just to be able to add things onto my resume, but also, I mean, the sheer amount of opportunities and experience you have. Like I look at an internship kind of like entering a library, just books everywhere, everything to learn, whether it be from interpersonal relationships or even more practically, how to write a resume. I certainly didn't know how to do that. And I realized that not many people do. And so that's been a real value and advantage to me. And to be able to work with my dad and just enter a new relationship, partnership.
Yeah.
So that's been really cool.
I mean, we already high-fived for sales, but
that's true.
It's it's different.
But now I'm wearing a suit, we get to have fun.
So the thing is, he actually does truly wear a suit every day he comes into work. And I'm typically like in sweatpants and a t-shirt while I'm working. And so he kind of puts everybody on the team like to shame fashion wise. So he actually coming to the podcast this evening was like, oh, I guess I should have worn my suit. And he probably would have if he had thought about it a little bit more ahead of time. So I think that's a cool thing. I think it's authentically you. And, I'm sure there'd be people who'd tell you like, even doing that dress up for work, helps you feel, professional.
Well, and even on that, like Mom was kind of saying, it's your armor. And that was the first wording of that I kind of thought about, like, yeah, it is my armor. I'm the knight and this is my suit.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
That's how I feel about my black t-shirt.
Yeah.
It's like it defines me as a creative. I walk around with a black t-shirt. They know, all right, that guy's
When I think I'm just realizing that now that I've thought back. That's pretty neat.
Yeah. Well, every internship is different in their own right. I think that we can both agree, though, that internships have similarities in that you're coming into something new. You're learning something new. You find yourself working along, mentors, in a more intensive environment than what maybe you either have never experienced before. So while you've worked at Career Brand Story as an intern, what are some of your major takeaways that you've had about the experience?
Oh, there's been many major takeaways. And I think you could really split them down into categories. First is just some of the adult realities. I learned indirectly how to manage a budget and how that $10, how much that stretches and how you need to allocate that. So I realized if I'm going to buy a house, I'm going to need to make more than $10 probably.
And you opened your first bank account with this internship too.
Yes, I have. And I need to get my driver's license too.
That's right.
And I think this is one that's really stood out to me is working in a team. I worked in a team at a farm in my last kind of job as a volunteer. But in this, it's kind of different because now I have official bosses that I report to and who I do tasks for. And I have to recognize their time and my time, check in and report to them in a respectful manner that's mindful of their time. And that's just been a really unique and good experience because it helps develop my interpersonal skills as well as just recognize these are some of the realities of coming into a work market.
So, Luke, in this internship, how have your experiences so far changed or further developed your view of work?
Well, I think they've more fully developed. I learned a lot in my last volunteer position working at a barn. And there I found not only the value in just doing hard work and getting energy out, but also how important it is for us to do something that's meaningful and that is just self-fulfilling. I think that when you're not working, you kind of wither your soul. And so working here at a company with a job that I trust, like a brand that I trust, and I know that's actually doing good things for the world, it gives me meaning and purpose. And so with that, I've been able to create something. And I know that, this first draft resume, this is going to have value for someone. And they're going to be able to go further in their career because of it. And I can walk away and go home and sleep and realize I feel good about that. And all the meanwhile getting paid by it, that's not bad either.
That's right. So I think one of the most kind of dramatic changes on entering the workforce as an intern is really the experience of working with a team in a work setting. So, all of a sudden you've got to start collaborating and really working well with other people. What has that experience been like working with the Career Brand Story team?
Well, without any writer flair on it, I would describe it as an emotional roller coaster. I've come to recognize some things about myself working a team. I found more and more of this job. I don't like conflict. Like, don't prepare your guns. Don't get your tanks on me because I'll wave the right flag. So working in a team, I've already had some conflicts, and I've had to kind of step back and understand my communication style, but also how they might be communicating, and that it really comes down to it's not always an issue of what the other person's saying, but just that sometimes our communication gets ensnared, and that takes self-awareness on both parties. And with that, I've also found that there's some people who my communication style just really gels with, and so we get along really well. That, or at least there's no conflict. That's how I describe something going really well. That we're on the border.
Me too, Luke.
Right. So it's been a very interesting and enlightening experience.
So have you figured out how to deal with conflict yet?
I think, as you're growing older, that is a constant learning experience. I've heard that your emotional intelligence grows as you get older. So I would say yes, but I still have a long way to go. And I think that goes for everyone, though in different ways. Definitely my grandfather's probably a lot better at it than I am now, or even you, both of you actually. And so that's one reason why I love working here, is because I'm able to have mentors who do help me, So I'd say in my final answer to that, I'm learning.
I think that's a pretty great place to be.
Yeah.
And always being open to that.
Right.
So, what we do around here is that as a company, we're coaches, we're marketers, we're storytellers. And what we're trying to do is change the way that we lead and how career brand stories are shared.
Right.
So what thoughts has this culture inspired in you when you're thinking on how you want your brand to reflect upon others and yourself?
Well, I think I've realized how important brand is, and how when people look at you, one of their first thoughts is kind of brand subconsciously. And I guess I describe brand as kind of like reputation. I still need to re-listen to earlier podcasts.
Oh, you just hit it on the nail, because that's Jeb's quote. We're going to put it on a t-shirt.
I don't think that I can actually take credit for that. I mean, it's something I believe, but
Jeb believes it. It says it all the time. Brand is reputation.
Yeah, that's the one that I stick with.
Yeah.
Ever since I heard that, it really struck me and made me really think about it. Because even when I was thinking of, for example, there's this pet shop downtown, and their brand, they set themselves up as this nice little corner pet shop, and inside it was this kind of nasty and grotesque kind of place. And I was kind of thinking about it. I don't want my brand to be like that. I want it to be Luke Tudor. He has his armor of a suit, writer. I suppose what I'm trying to say is I want to be strategic about it, and I want to be authentic about it and intentional.
Yeah. Well, that's where I'd piggyback on the reputation part and say, I think Seth Godin also says this. I think that's probably where I'm getting it from, but that it's also an expectation for the future. So
right.
if the pet shop example you gave, you have a certain expectation about them based on their branding, their brand collateral, their logo, their look and feel from the outside. But if you open that book and the book isn't as good as the cover, your expectations have been let down.
Right.
Yeah. So that's where the expectation part comes in. And if you're not meeting people's expectations, you're certainly not going to have a great reputation either.
And I guess you could put that in the category of a failure of brand.
Yeah, I could see that. At least a failure of branding. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And so what's really kind of cool, just where you're at too, because, you're not on any social media yet,
Right.
because that's not actually something that really appeals to you. But we've talked about that from even a branding standpoint, that you're really at this place where you get to create your brand completely fresh. And so, one of the things that I love about you is the fact that you love to hear people's stories and tell people's stories. And so, especially of the older generation, right? So we have a Gen Zer who loves to talk to boomers. And what you need to know about Luke and in our neighborhood is, my wife and I've told him he needs to write a book called The East Holston Avenue Chronicles. He knows all of the neighbors. He sits and he talks with them. But you love hearing those stories and being able to retell those stories. And so we're talking about creating a podcast for him that's called where he will interview boomers and get them to retell their stories. So we have that in the works. Which I think is just a really cool part about who you are and what you really like to do.
Thank you. Well, and it was even as I was reading Brene Brown book earlier, and she was telling about how our minds process things through story. That I just really buy into the idea of just being able to listen to people's stories and tell them effectively.
Yeah. So just again, to our audience, you can tell Luke is a 16-year-old going on 25 when he quotes Brene Brown.
Right.
Well, that's from you all. And so I have you to thank.
Yeah, we're a fan. So, I think it's really exciting to see you grow and develop, not just as a father, but to watch you even in this company and start to pick up and learn things.
Yes.
And just even sitting here and listening to you to realize how much you've picked up along the way. From what you've said so far, I think we could agree, right? An internship can be an incredible, valuable opportunity. If you were talking to one of your peers right now, would you recommend pursuing an internship to them?
Well, first I'd want to know who the employer is and just see what they're looking for, just to kind of pat them on the back and look out for them. But on the other thing, I think it really depends on what you're looking for. I think there's other times, or there's exceptions to every role. So I think there's some that a retail position might benefit them a lot more. However, I think an internship, paid or unpaid, can be just a remarkable experience because you get that. One of the biggest things is getting that experience of a mentor. Like at my last job at the barn as a volunteer, I worked with an older man named Tom, and he taught me everything. How to do stalls, from how to move a truck with trailer with horses in it. And that was really valuable. And at this internship, I've seen kind of a replay of that with my dad teaching me how to do like resumes and everything. So really, I think it's what you're looking for. But in the end, you do get that mentor experience and you do get that technical experience if you're being willing to listen and humbled. That's one thing. If you don't come in as a humbled learner, you're not going to take anything away. So you have to definitely come in with the right attitude. So depending on the peer and depending on if they're willing to learn and listen, I say absolutely go for it. And especially, as with any opportunity, you should definitely always consider it thoughtfully. Hi, I'm Luke, an intern at Career Brand Story with today's career tip.
If you are a Gen Zer, one of the most valuable things you can do to build your resume with both soft and hard skills is do an internship. Internships enable you to gain firsthand experience of working in the real world. It allows you to gain skills, knowledge, and practice those skills out. In an ideal internship, you can mess up in a safe environment and learn from that experience. And the best part is great for your resume. When you're looking for a good internship, look for these things. 1, an opportunity to master technical skills. 2, time to gain business knowledge. 3, ways to continue to develop your interpersonal skills. And lastly, a place to build a network of contacts. By investing in an internship, you'll give yourself the opportunity to grow yourself. It'll put you ahead of others when you start to look for your first job.
Brand is not just a logo, a color, or a catchphrase. It's custom. It's your language, your culture, your vibe, and so much more. So why leave your brand imagery up to whatever you can find on a stock photography website? I'm Jeb Graff, and I'd like you to consider getting in touch with me for your custom photography for your custom brand needs. I've worked with people across the United States to make photography that tells their story better and more effectively than any search on a stock site could. And I'd like to work with you too. So go to jebgraff.com/contact to leave stock behind and say hello to imagery that's as custom as your brand. That's jebgraff.com/contact. Talk to you soon.
So, Luke, we ask every guest here on our podcast the same question, and you know what question is coming.
Yes.
So you've had time to think about it. But what do you want to be when you grow up?
So it was actually a few podcast sessions ago that I was listening to. And one of your guests kind of took it in a more broader abstract. They said, when I get older, or what I want to be when I grow up is happy. And that kind of opened up my worldview, because a lot of people respond with a specific job or vocation, but this person said happy. And I kind of thought about that. So in thinking about my brand and where I want to go and what expectations I want to set up for other people, I want to be someone who listens to other people and learns from what's around me. And no matter where I go, whether it's a writer, I just want to be known as someone who's listening and is always ready to learn. And I know that's more of like an abstract concept, but I think it's something that will take me very far.
Well, for all of us older, whether we're millennials, exennials, Gen Xers, or baby boomers, I'm telling you, world, watch out, because this Gen Z generation has a lot to offer. Absolutely. So we're looking forward to watching you all come into the workforce and teaching us a lot as well. So, Luke, thanks for being our intern.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for being on the podcast today. And thanks for being a great son. If you like what you heard today, you can hear more every week from us by opting into our email newsletter. Right now, we're giving away our free PDF on understanding your why, motivations, and driving forces. Simply go to jeremytudor.com to sign up today. We promise we won't spam your inbox. We simply send one email each week with our expert career coaching. By the way, if you're wondering where you can follow, like, comment, you can find me on Facebook or LinkedIn. Just search for Jeremy Tudor, and on Instagram at Jeremy T. Tudor. Also, while many of you listen to this podcast, because that's what a podcast is for, you can also watch each episode on YouTube. Just search Jeremy Tudor, our career brand story, to find us. And Jeb, when you're not taking photographs of buildings around town, where can we find you?
You can find me at Jeb Graff, JEBBGRAFF, and that is the handle I use on all social media channels and platforms, etc., etc. You can also find me at my website, jebgraff.com, JEBBGRAFF.com.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone, and keep thriving.
If you're interested in advertising your business on our podcast, we advertise for local and national companies. Contact McCay at careerbrandstory.com for more information. That's MCCAY at careerbrandstory.com.